Hello, welcome to the live. So today will be my May reading wrap up. So I have 4 books and they're all different genres. So what I'll do is just like as always, I'll go through and do like a few word sentence or two description of each. And then I'll go and do a more in-depth description. So if you're watching this on the replay and you happen to see something that you're interested in, you can also just kind of scroll to when I talk about it. So the first one is Group, How One Therapist and a Circle of Strangers Saved My Life by Christie Tate. So you've probably seen this. It's been around a lot. This is adult memoir about the author's experience in group therapy. The next one is Things We Lost to the Water, a novel by Ngyuen. And this is a adult fiction, kind of like historical fiction about the main character and his family's immigrant story and refugee story from Vietnam. The next one is Chronic Hope, Families and Addiction by Petersen, licensed marriage and family therapist. So this is a self-help for family members of those that are struggling with substance abuse. And the last one is Wishes by Muon. And this is a children's illustrated book about being a refugee from Vietnam. Okay, so I'll go through and do a little more of a description of each. I liked most of these. So the first one, Group, this was talked about a lot. Like I tried to put this on hold at my local library. When I put it on hold like months ago, it was like a 6-month wait. So eventually I was talking with another therapist who was like, you need to read this. So I bought this on my way home at the bookstore. So this is like what I said, it's essentially the author's experience, her experience, everyone's experience is different, attending group therapy for kind of like codependency. She also struggled with eating disorder. So I had mixed feelings about this. I think I literally probably read this in like 2 or 3 days. Like it didn't take me very long because it's just like I was very much like immersed in like what was happening. But also me being a therapist and a therapist who does have experience co-facilitating group therapy, although it was in like agency, community mental health, nonprofit, my experience was different. So it's definitely an interesting read, but I will give you the disclaimer that it may not be a reflection of all group therapy experiences, okay? But I'd say check it out if you're interested. Like I said, it was an interesting story, but my professional experience had mixed feelings about the things that were happening. But I think it's great that the author wrote this. I think it's great to tell your story, especially talking about like when you're in any sort of therapy, whether it's individual, group, family, or couple. So like that, it's this therapist stuff in here that I'm like kind of cringe. So anyway, that is Group by Christie Tate. The next one, Things We Lost to the Water, a novel by Ngyuen. This was on my TBR. And so when it came out, which was, I think, like the first week of May, like I immediately went and got it because I was so excited to read it. So this is essentially the story of a mom who leaves Vietnam with her two sons to come here to America, and this is a fiction, right? But it's like historical fiction. And the husband is back in Vietnam, so she ends up coming here alone. You know, pretty much kind of like being like a single mom with these 2 kids. And there's a lot of back and forth about each of the family members' experience about that connection, that kind of lost connection. other than that, it touches on queer identity, being Asian American, and there's also something that happens in here that's more of a disaster, like a disaster that occurs where they live, and just how they got through that. So this book was really, really good. I hope this author continues to write. This was his first book that he had published. But yeah, pretty much if he writes anything else, I'm definitely going to buy it, because it's just, he's an amazing, amazing writer. And two, like, there are many that have come here from Vietnam. So I think too, like, it's important to read these stories. So definitely check this out. Highly recommend it. Things We Lost to the Water by Eric Wynn. Okay. The next one, this was sent to me. And I love it, as you can see by all these tabs. So this is Chronic Hope, Families and Addiction by Kevin Petersen, licensed marriage and family therapist. So Kevin sent me this, and he has another book. And so this is very much self-help, but like self-help plus like actionable steps. And there is so much good information in here about substance abuse. Like, how do I know whether or not my family member would be addicted to substances and drugs? What do I do? What are my first steps? What do we do as far as like taking care of ourselves, and like pretty much laying down like all the options when it comes to treatment for substance abuse. So highly recommend this book. The other book he has is, I believe, specific for teenagers. So like, well, parents of teens who are abusing drugs. So can't recommend this enough. And he will actually be on the podcast. So this will be probably the next podcast episode. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, I mean, definitely check this out if you or anyone you know, might be struggling with this, or if they have a family member or like a partner or someone that they are suspecting might have drug use and substance abuse. I highly recommend it. Like, I kind of wish I had this in grad school. That's how good this is. So that is Chronic Hope, Families and Addiction by Kevin Petersen, licensed marriage and family therapist. So, hi Camille. The last one is so cute. So this is Wishes by Muon. And it's a children's illustrated book, and I believe it's for as young as 3. So this is a story about, from the child's eyes, leaving their family. This takes place in Vietnam. So leaving Vietnam and immigrating here. And with children's books, and as you know, like if you have kids or you've worked with young children, like you can't say too much. You have to be like really concise in what you say, but it has to carry a lot of like meaning. And so pretty much each page goes through like how they had prepared to leave, and it's from the child's eyes, and kind of what she's seeing and what her thoughts are. So they're packing, and it says the bag wished it was deeper. So they're like packing to leave. And there's another one in here that I was like, oh my gosh. This one killed me. The clock wished it was slower. So kind of saying goodbye to the family members that they're leaving in their home country. So the path wished it was shorter. So they have to go to whatever vessel will be bringing them to another country. So I haven't come across too many children's books, especially for as young as this, talking about the immigrant and refugee experience, which is, I mean, I'm in Orange County and I grew up right near Westminster, which is like predominantly Vietnamese. And so there are so many kids that went through this, And so I think it's so important for there to be kids' stories on this topic. Any tips on how to help us read more? I need to read more. Okay, yeah. Thanks for that question, Camille. That's a good question. I mean, I think to help read more, I know for me, I have a Goodreads account, and it like bombards me with emails about like the books that are coming out, like the Barnes & Noble. I actually started subscribing to newsletters from like local bookstores around the country, since I do shop local, not local to me only, but around just like small bookshops. And so I tend to get all these like staff recommendations and stuff like that. And I kind of look into whatever perks my interest. And so that's how I kind of generate a list of books that I want to read. And then after that, I pretty much have blocks of time throughout the week that I will only read. So like, I know for me, like Tuesdays, I don't work in my private practice. So that is a day where I'm like, got my cup of coffee or tea, and I sit down and I try to read for as long as possible. Because as you can see, I have so many books. So it's pretty much just, about getting started and just starting with a genre that interests you or something that you might be interested in reading, and then setting aside time to do it, because if not, it can get it can be kind of hard, right? Especially if it's something that you're kind of doing for funsies, or you have other commitments or like life obligations and stuff like that. So that's what I would recommend. And then just starting small. And I think I noticed with me, you can't see, but over there's like a giant stack of books that I got in like for a book haul. Just going slow, because at some point, like, I started just buying like tons and tons of books and then becoming overwhelmed and kind of being really frazzled with like looking at this massive amount of books to read. So just do, one or two at a time, go at your own pace, and then buy more or rent more at the local library. So hopefully that helps. But that's a good question. I should do a Q&A video sometime. That'd be fun. Be like more interactive. Okay. So these are the books, if you hopped on late. And as far as these, and where to shop, I always recommend local bookstores. I can't tell you like how many times local bookstores are so happy that I'm like buying from there, especially with the pandemic. They're really struggling. So if you can, I would say, just shop local. And if not, then, it's like a lot to like get out and go or whatever. Just at least maybe bookshop.org, because for bookshop.org, a portion of I think it's like 10% or something like that, does go towards local bookstores. So they really do try to give back to the community. So I would say, do that. I'd always recommend that. I know it's kind of easier to shop and kind of go into those bigger branch company bookstores, but shopping local, there's nothing better than like a cute little tiny bookstore. I don't know. I could like live in there. But anyway, so hopefully this was informative or helpful. The stack is definitely not as big as before, but that's okay. I think I'm like staring at my stack again. I have a lot of books to read, so this will probably be there'll probably be more for June, and I'm also reading books for Pride Month. Yay! So there's so many books out there. But anyway, so check back for that, for the next reading wrap up, which will be the end of this month or the 1st of July, whatever happens with my schedule, either of those. And then, like I said, there will be another podcast episode coming up, so keep an eye on that. And if you haven't already, there's a lot of stuff on the website, booksbetweensessions.com. So if you haven't checked that out already, definitely do so. That's where, in addition to Apple Podcasts and Google and Spotify and everywhere that the podcast is, the videos of the episodes are listed on there, including like my Goodreads. Like if you want to know what I'm currently reading, I do update that. And then I have also been uploading all the Instagram videos to there. And there's also a link to the Books Between Sessions bookshop.org storefront. So if you're ever looking for book recommendations as well for that, then you can also check out the our bookshop.org. Okay, so TGIF. Hopefully this was informative or helpful, and take care and have a good weekend. Okay.